to take your first viola lesson?
Yes.
Okay, so basically right now your viola is perfect the way it is. When you unpack it, it should always be on the ground so that when you open up the latches and like everything's all out and exposed, it won't fall out or the case won't fall out. Sometimes viola cases have hard cases on them, so that's better. And if you wanted to put it on your lap, but this is fine on the floor.
Gotcha.
So what you want to do is you want to open the latches. Just carefully open it up. Great. And then you open it. Okay, and now pause. So whenever you unpack a string instrument, you always want to take out the bow first. And so for these types of cases, the bow is on the top where the top of the case is, and there's a little latch. So basically you want to unleash the latch and take out the bow and just place it somewhere not close to you so that it is safe.
Okay. Bow first.
Yes.
And I can place it right over here?
Yeah, place it on the piano.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Okay, so now we see the viola, but we also see this piece of styrofoam. Sometimes they're called, well, they're called shoulder rests, but sometimes they're a little bit more different. But right now we have this to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab your styrofoam as well as a rubber band, which are here.
Okay.
Make sure the rubber band's good. Okay,
rubber
great.
Band.
So then just place that. You can actually give it to me, and then I'll place it. I'll give it to you when you need it. And I want you to take the viola very carefully. Usually you can grab it by like the top of the neck to on the base and just bring it up towards you.
Okay, kind of like this?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So good. Okay.
And
I'll bring it closer to you so it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Keep it comfortable. Okay, so now you have your little shoulder rest and your rubber band. The rubber band is used to place it on underneath the viola so that it has something to hold, which will be your styrofoam. So what I want you to do, I want you to rotate it. I mean, just kind of flip your viola around very carefully.
Like this?
Yeah.
Can it sit on my lap?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's good. Just keep it like that. Okay, great. So that you're not touching the strings too much.
Okay.
And grab your styrofoam and you want to put it underneath where your chin rest is.
Okay.
You can see that chin rest is like that black part right there. And then grab your rubber band and I want you to put it where that end pin is and wrap it around the first curve you see at the bottom of the viola and yeah, keep it right there. Right there, perfect.
Gotcha.
And just kind of readjust the styrofoam and make sure it fits comfortably. Don't try it on yet, but just make sure it's like very snug. Then you can flip it back around.
Okay.
And you learn how to set up a viola.
Okay.
So now that we've finished kind of setting up the viola, we put the case away. We're going to touch the bow in a bit, but for now we're going to talk about our playing position and standing upright and just getting used to that sort of feeling of holding the viola. So you're going to hand it to me so that I can talk to you about it and sort of demonstrate it so that when you have a try to do it, it's good. Okay, so one of the first things you want to remember is that your legs should always be shoulder width apart. Just about, doesn't necessarily have to be huge, but sort of not together. And you want to keep your left leg forward. And the reason why we do that is because when we're holding up the viola, all that sort of weight and distribution between our legs and upper body holding the viola is in that left leg. And so when we're holding it, we're kind of used to that. And basically when you're holding it up, you don't have to hold it up correctly just yet, but just kind of rock back and forth, get used to the feeling, and once you're settled, just feel all that sort of energy that you're using for your arm, your head, and your neck, and just sort of get to know that feeling.
Okay.
And, okay, so initially, when we're bringing it up, we want to remember that our head is what is keeping our viola sort of close to ourselves, and it's really what's holding our viola. The reason why is if we were to play and just keep our hands and our arms and that created the tension and that's what kept our holding up our viola, it's not really a good fit. And it sort of creates a level of tension that's uncomfortable when we're playing because we're too focused on bringing that sort of energy to hold up our viola that we're not focused on our fingers and getting to able to play those notes. So what we do instead to compensate for that is we hold our viola with our head almost. You're still obviously holding it a bit with your arm and thumb, but it's really your head that's sort of giving that driving force. If you were to let go of your viola, it wouldn't fall necessarily because your head is what's holding it.
Okay.
And so basically when we put our shoulder rest, underneath the chin rest and sort of this lower bout of the viola. We want to bring it sort of up to where our collarbone is and where our neck is, sort of that little nest that we have in there, and we kind of want to dig it not too hard. Again, you don't want to create too much tension because then you're focused on holding the viola too much with your head. You want to find that middle ground, that perfect Goldilocks zone, so that when you're holding it, it doesn't feel as much tension in either your head or your arms. A real quick thing to note is that when you're holding it, it is natural for your head to slightly tilt. That's what's going to hold it. It shouldn't be all the way where you're kind of like almost sleeping, but it should be at an angle that you feel like is what's compensating for holding the viola. So I want you to try just that initial step of holding the viola with your arm. Don't worry about your arms too much. We'll talk about that in a bit, and just see how you do good on that. Okay, great. And so just rock back and forth.
Okay.
We're gonna have to do this because, you know, it just gets used to the tension, all that energy being used, all that sort of movement.
Okay.
Great. So now bring your viola forward. You can kind of rotate your wrist so that it kind of does it. You might have to compensate with your other arm. So bring it up to your collarbone and chin, and just think about what I was talking about using your head and your neck area, as well as not really using your arm too much.
Okay. So does the whole thing go under my chin?
I would say just your chin rest. Just
Okay.
the chin rest and that general area. Great. I think that looks good.
Okay.
One quick thing to note, I like how you're keeping your thumb at the edge of the fingerboard. That's what we usually do for violas and violins. For cellos and basses, it's a bit different.
Okay.
But right now it's good. We're going to talk about your arm in a bit. What I want you to do is hold your viola with your fingers. Just kind of grasp on it so they don't fall. Okay. Look straight forward to me. Don't move your viola or anything. Just look straight forward.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of bring it back to where you think you're holding your viola in that weight.
Like the angle of it?
Yeah.
I think it should be lower.
Great. Okay, see how like when you came straight, you looked straight at me and then you kind of tilted away to hold it? That's basically what I meant by you're not necessarily using too much of your energy that you're not sleeping, but you're also not looking straight forward at me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This is really good. So now we're going to talk about your arms. So I'm going to have you give me that in a sec, and we'll talk about your fingering positions.
Okay.
Hold the stick with the left part. The stick is the larger part of the bow.
Okay.
Do your finger puppet.
And then this hand.
Hand puppet. Now, angle the bow so that you're holding it forward. So you may want to, readjust. Okay. So now take your finger puppet and bring it back in. Great. I would bring your index fingers and your ring fingers and middle fingers closer to each other. Great. Is your thumb curved? Yes. Okay. I feel like there is some tension. This pinky is very straight, so kind of curve it. Curve it. Bring your wrist sort of down a bit. Oh no, not like that. Wrist down. Yes.
Oh, wrist down.
Yeah. So that don't change the angle too. You want to keep it straight. But what I saw was that
Yeah.
was that your wrist was too high. So that was
Okay.
so you kind of want to keep a very relaxed position when we're playing viola and violin.
Okay.
So now I want you to bring your viola initially. I'll give you the bow when we correct your playing posture in case there's anything wrong.
Okay.
So bring it up.
So chin,
Yes.
elbow, angle.
Great. Bring your finger. Just bring them up to first position so that they're ready in case we want to play something.
Okay.
So now, grab your bow by the frog. Great. Okay. Slay. So, be sure to put the position. Yes. Finger puppet. Great. Your pinky should kind of be on top, so that. Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Now bring it up. And so now you know how to hold it. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about playing it. We're just going to talk a little bit more about the elbow and the angles that we need to hit. So, now that we have our positions and I taught you how to do the bow, we're going to do it now.
Okay.
So, bring it up. Not to your viola, just initially. So yeah, I like how you're holding your bow. Just remember to always keep your thumb curved. You can kind of bring your thumb a bit in so that it's not necessarily too out and exposed. Yeah, this is good. I like what you're doing. So now bring it over the lane. The lane is in between your fingerboard and your bridge.
Okay.
Okay, great. Just put it gently down on a string. Okay, great. So the first things we want to talk about when we're trying to play a note, an open string note, is that we don't necessarily want to use our wrists to sort of do all the moving, all the changing. It's generally your elbow that's doing all those angles.
Like that.
Yeah. Now try to play a C. So that's this. So what would you do to play that note with your elbow?
Wait, is C the last one?
Yeah, this one, the biggest one.
So would I angle upwards for that?
Yeah, basically. Okay. And then when you're playing A, you want to bring it down.
Okay. So should I go C?
Yeah. Play a D string, which is this.
Okay.
Engage.
Yes.
Engage. Okay. Now, imagine that there's a highway in between your lane, in between the bridge and the fingerboard.
Okay.
Always keep your, right now it's kind of slanted, kind of keep it, more flat to your string so that it resonate better. Okay, now play. Okay, good. So I like what you started with. Generally what happens is you kind of like go from one space to another.
Okay.
Always engage. Like think about what you're gonna do to keep that note for playing. So
okay.
What do you think is your tendency?
I'm like pushing away.
Yeah. So always, that's generally an elbow problem, and you're still getting used to that angle. And so always remember that your angles are determined by your elbow. So you want to engage both your elbow and your bow, because now you have many factors you have to think about.
Okay.
So I want you to play that D string again, but this time really hone in on thinking that there's a lane in between that highway we talked about.
Okay.
Okay, that's better. I liked how you started with that.
Yeah.
Do you think you can repeat with how you started now?
Yes.
Okay, that was better. That was good.
Okay.
Okay, great. So now we're gonna play Good King Wenceslas. We're gonna play by hitting the notes one at a time so that you're used to them, and then we'll play it all together at once. So I'm gonna accompany you with the piano.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with the G. So that's 3 fingers, right? And we rehearsed it a bit.
On the second.
Yeah.
D string.
D string. So play the rhythm. So it's G, 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 A. Okay. Again.
If I'm out of tune.
Okay.
Because that doesn't sound like the piano.
So your fingers are really high. There are tape. I'll make sure you're engaging.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you came over here. There is tape, a little bit of like remnants of tape. Essentially, what you want to remember is that your middle finger and your index finger are pretty close to each other. So the first is here, and the second, third, they're kind of here. You kind of have to like really look because they're not prominent.
Okay.
But I think your tendency is that you're too flat. So if we're flat, like let's say we were flat on this. Okay, wait. Take out your finger.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine I was playing this B, right? Which would be on this tape.
Yeah.
And I was flat.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be here, right?
Yeah.
Where would I go
to
correct it?
You would move down the board.
Right.
Okay.
And then if I were sharp, where would I go?
Back up.
Back up. So now let's put the G back. So the 3 fingerings. Great. Let's say, just make yourself sharp. Go.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would you do?
I would come back.
Up. Yeah, exactly. And you can see, like, I'm glad you can see that there's tape here. We're not really using our pinky for this exercise, so it can rest, but, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be that engaged.
Okay.
So I think that G should be good, so play it. Good.
That's better.
Okay. So try the G, 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 A, G, G, D. Good. When you're transitioning from another string to another, your motion is tend to sort of kind of have it screech. And that's pretty normal. Normally it's because you're doing too light. So generally really engage and sort of hone in on that note.
Oh, I'm holding it.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Remember not to hold that string because it'll play an ugly note.
Yeah.
So notice how you corrected yourself and you were engaged with everything that it
Yes.
returned to its normal note capacity that it needs to be. So, since you've rehearsed this piece already together when we did it off camera, I just want to hear you play the whole thing just once, and then after we'll make some corrections, and then you'll play it again with the repeat. So play it.
Okay.
Yeah, good. So I would say that your intonation is not so bad. I
Okay.
played that E because it was sounding a little out of tune. But in general, that's pretty much natural for a beginner like you. Just remember that, especially when we're moving from pressing down on the G and then moving up to the A and then moving down again to the G and then to a D, we tend to sort of kind of mismatch where we initially started on that G.
Yeah.
So really hone in on that, and it does take some practice, and you will practice on it. But remember that just these tapes are here to guideline. They're not really there, but you can kind of see it. But overall, it was pretty good. And also remember that there's a quarter rest in between the last G's.
Okay.
Um,
Do I just hold the bow and wait for the rest and then?
Yeah, kind of just do it. E D E F G G.
Okay.
So kind of go down bow or up bow or whatever bow angle you happen to be landing on.
Gotcha.
You just take a pause. So play both those phrases twice, and let's see how it turns out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Whenever I'm ready.
Yes, of course. Great. Okay, stop.
Gotcha.
So play that note again, the G,
The G.
the last note. Okay, play with the piano. Do you think you're in tune or out of tune?
Can you play the note again? I think I'm in tune.
Great. Yeah.
Yay.
But some of the tendencies that we have is that sometimes with that G, especially when we're going from the open D to the G again, we sometimes misalign our fingers. So just remember to always engage. Engagement is really the key word here for playing the viola. Just remember to always engage your head, your arms, your hands, and your bow angles. But other than that, it was a really good first try at viola.
Thank you.
So glad. And great job.
Thank you. Thank you for being an excellent teacher.